With Jalen Green struggling to start his NBA career, it got me thinking about how some of the other recent number 1 ranked prospects are doing. So today, we're going to be going back to the 2010s and seeing where all the number 1 players are now. Some of these were super surprising, but if you guys like the content, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button. Let's go for 42 likes on today's video, and let's get into this. Let's start things off by going back to 2010, where the number 1 ranked player in the country was Harrison Barnes. This whole recruiting class is actually pretty interesting to look back at. Other than Kyrie Irving, who was the 3rd ranked player, the top of this class wasn't all that impressive. It features guys like Jared Sullinger, Josh Selby, and Perry Jones. But getting back to Barnes, there was a lot of hype for the 6'8" athletic forward going to the University of North Carolina. There he would play 2 solid seasons, as a sophomore putting up 17 points and 5 rebounds, shooting 44% from the field and 36% from 3. For a majority of that season, it looked like he was going to be a top 5 selection, but after an injury to North Carolina point guard Kendall Marshall, his inability to consistently create for himself really hurt his draft stock. Now, he was still taken pretty high. He ended up as the 7th overall pick to the Warriors, and to start his NBA career, it wasn't all that great. But once the Warriors really became serious title contenders, Barnes started to put everything together. He averaged 11 points, shooting 40% from 3 in his final 2 seasons there. After his rookie contract, he would end up going to the Mavericks, where we started to see him ramp up his volume. Since then, he's been an efficient 15 to 20 point scorer. Today he's with the Kings, averaging 17, 6, and 3. In 2011, the top player in the country was 6'10" power forward Anthony Davis. Davis was getting a lot of attention in his final year of high school, not just due to his rank. There were a lot of unique things about him, the most glaring being his decision not to shave the hair between his eyebrows. He also had a pretty cool story. Just a couple years ago, he was playing the point guard position, but after a massive growth spurt, he was able to rocket up the recruiting rankings all the way to number 1. He then decided to go to Kentucky, where he became a household name, dominating both sides of the basketball, averaging 14 points, 10 rebounds, and an insane 4.7 blocks. He led Kentucky to a national title and became the consensus number 1 pick to the New Orleans Hornets. From there, most of you know what happens. He quickly becomes one of the top bigs in the league, but they struggle to put a competent roster around him. He eventually gets traded to the Lakers in 2019 and actually wins a title in his first season there. Since then, while he's dominant when playing, he's struggled to stay on the court, and he's currently dealing with an ankle injury, but I think it's safe to say he's lived up to the expectations associated with a number 1 recruit, especially considering the number 2 recruit in that class was Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. 2012 is a funny class to look back at. I thought 2010 was bad, but let me just show you this class. The top recruits were Marcus Smart, Grant Jarrett, Cameron Ridley, Anthony Bennett, Steven Adams, Kyle Anderson, Caleb, I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce that last name, Isaiah Austin, Shabazz Muhammad, and at the very top, you've got 6'10" center Nerlens Noel. Noel decided to go to Kentucky, where he absolutely dominated. He looked like a lock for the number 1 selection, averaging 11 points and 10 rebounds, but mainly making a name for himself on the defensive end, where he would average 4.4 blocks and 2.1 steals, but sadly, towards the end of the season, he would tear his ACL, cutting his season short. Now, even after that, it looked like there was still a chance for him to go number 1, just given how bad that draft was, but ultimately, he would fall to the 6th overall pick in the hands of the Pelicans, but later that night would be sent to the 76ers. He would have a pretty good start to his career, never being anything special on the offensive side, but really promising on the defensive end. In his 4th season, he would get traded to the Mavericks, who actually ended up offering him a 4-year, $72 million contract that he declined in favor of a 1-year, $4 million qualifying offer. A brutal mistake, as just 1 season later, he would sign with the Thunder on a minimum deal. Since then, his defense has kept him around as a solid rotation big, currently with the Knicks. 2013 is interesting just due to some crazy recent developments regarding the top player from this class, Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins is legitimately one of the most hyped up prospects of all time. He was getting praised as the best prospect since LeBron James, the next Kobe Bryant. He seemed to have everything, the size, the skill, the freakish athleticism. He came into his freshman season at Kansas looked at as an absolute lock for the top selection, and while he didn't blow away expectations, averaging 17 points, shooting with unimpressive efficiency, he did enough to remain that top pick to the Cleveland Cavaliers, but was later traded to the Timberwolves. His NBA career has been fascinating. He had a lot of success early, winning Rookie of the Year, and by his 3rd season, was averaging 24 points on pretty solid splits. This earned him a huge max contract extension, but then we saw the progress stagnate, to the point where he was looked at as one of the worst contracts in the league. In a crazy turn of events, he was traded to the Warriors 2 years ago, mainly just due to his contract so D'Angelo Russell could come to Minnesota. Since then, he's been a whole new player. His defense is unrecognizable. He's truly bought in. This year, he became an all-star starter, with him averaging 18 points, shooting 48% from the field and 41% from 3. Not quite the player we thought he would be when he was getting praised as the next Kobe Bryant, but it's a pretty cool story nonetheless. The number one player in the class of 2014 was Jahlil Okafor, a 6'10" center who decided to go to Duke. Okafor's story is kind of sad, as he was such a great talent, just not in the right era. Once getting to Duke, he made it very clear very quickly he was one of the best players in the country. He would average 17 points and 9 rebounds, shooting 66% from the field, leading Duke to a national title. After that, he became the 3rd overall pick to the 76ers. His rookie season was pretty solid. He averaged 18 points and 7 rebounds, but that would be by far the best season of his career. His back-to-the-basket offensive game, paired with a lack of any defensive game whatsoever, was a dying skill set. Just 2 years later, he'd be traded from the 76ers and since has bounced around the league on small deals as a role player. Currently, he doesn't have a contract. Once the Andrew Wiggins hype died, we needed to find someone else to overhype, and that's where Ben Simmons came in, the number one player in the class of 2015. Man, were the expectations crazy for this kid. He was a 6'10" point forward, dominating at one of the top programs in the country in Montverde. He decided to go to LSU, where he'd average 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists, making him the consensus top pick in the hands of the 76ers. Despite looking incredible early on in his career, the much-needed offensive development never came, which has led us to today, where he's just been traded to the Nets after crying because people told him that in the sport of basketball, shooting the basketball into the basket is kind of a big deal, especially when you're on a max contract. 2016 is a player I seem to always forget about, and that's Harry Giles. The 6'10" power forward was an absolute beast in high school. He could really do it all, which came with a lot of expectations going into his freshman season at Duke. Expectations that had to come down after he would tear his ACL in his senior season of high school. It's interesting to think about where he'd be today if he never got injured, as he was never the same player. He played just 11 minutes a game as a freshman, averaging 4 points and 4 rebounds. He still managed to get drafted pretty high, as he was taken with the 20th pick to the Kings. He played 2 seasons with Sacramento, then 1 year in Portland, and is currently in the NBA G League. For most of the 2017 season, Michael Porter Jr. was the consensus top recruit. That was until Marvin Bagley decided to reclassify. The 6'11" power forward decided to go to Duke, where he was just unstoppable. It's easy to laugh at the Kings for taking Bagley over Luka in 2018, but let's not act like Bagley was some garbage prospect. As a freshman, he averaged 21 points and 11 rebounds, shooting 61% from the field and 40% from 3. It appeared like he had a ton of upside with what he could do with the ball in his hands, which is why it wasn't a huge shocker when the Kings decided to take him 2nd overall. While on paper, it didn't look like Bagley got off to a bad start in his career, his constant struggles to stay on the court really derailed any progress he was making. While going into this year, I think most had given up on him being that future star, it was still a huge shocker when the Kings decided to completely take him out of the rotation. Now that didn't end up happening, but he still put up a pretty unimpressive 9 points and 7 rebounds. At the most recent deadline, he was traded to the Pistons, where I think everyone is hoping he can turn things around. 2018 was a fun class, as at the top, you had guys like Cam Reddish, Zion Williamson, who were deciding to join the number 1 recruit, RJ Barrett at Duke. While Zion was getting all the hype over social media in high school, RJ Barrett was getting all the hype from the scouts. A 6'7", extremely well-rounded wing, who had dominated on both the high school and international level. As a freshman, he would average 23 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists, shooting 45% from the field and 31% from 3. Solid, but not good enough to hold on to being the top pick, as he would end up going 3rd overall to the Knicks. Despite having some serious efficiency struggles early on, he's been super promising. Today he's averaging 18 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists, shooting 35% from 3. In the last 20 games, it's been 23 points, shooting 39% from 3. I really think it's going to be interesting to see what his extension ends up being. I think that could play a huge role on how he's looked at by the community going forward. Lastly, we've got 2019, where the top player in the class was 7-foot center James Wiseman. Wiseman would end up going to Memphis, where he would absolutely dominate in the couple games he played before getting suspended. After that, he left college to prepare for the draft, where the Warriors would take him with the 2nd overall pick, infamously 1 selection before LaMelo Ball. All things considered, it wasn't a great rookie year considering the expectations. He averaged 12 points and 6 rebounds, but it was his struggles on the defensive end that had most concern. This year, he's still yet to take the court due to injury, but man, am I interested to see his return. The Warriors were one of the best teams in the league before Klay took the court. Just imagine if somehow, some way, Wiseman comes back and he's just a little bit closer to that player we expected when he was taken second overall. Man, would this team be scary. But that's the video, guys. You guys give me your thoughts in the comments below. If you like the video, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.